Hello, I'm writing this down as I hide in the bathroom. There is a horrible wolf thing, and it's roaming around the library as I speak. Let's just start at the beginning. It was morning. When I woke up, the sun was shining, and everything around me was cheerful, except me, of course. It was a Monday when I was making a bowl of my favorite cereal. Sat down and picked up my phone. I was scrolling through it when I saw a reminder. The reminder read, "Make sure you go to the library at 8:30 for a job interview." Completely forgot about my job. There was no more time for cereal. I had to go to my interview. I ran down the stairs in a hurry and opened the door. I was running so fast that I forgot it was still winter. I slipped on some ice and ran into my car. My face was hurting now, and I reached for my nose. When I felt around, there was no sign of blood. I reached for my car door and opened it. I started my engine and booked it to the library. Was barely there in time. I opened the door to the library and ran inside. I saw a door that said manager and opened it. There was a person sitting at the desk. The manager, I suppose. He stood up and greeted me. "Good morning. Are you the new worker?" His voice was gruff. Will, yes sir, I am. My name is Jacob. The manager waved me away. Yee, my name is James. So kid, you sure you want this job? James looked serious now. Well, yes James. I need it. I hated how whiny my voice sounded, but James didn't notice. Well, Jacob, are you good at following rules? He looked at me, his eyes narrowing. I wasn't really, but it was a library. It wouldn't be too hard. Yes, I am, sir. My voice cracked as I looked at James' narrowing eyes. Good. Oh, Jacob, come back at 10:30. That is when your shift will start. I looked at him confused but not daring to say a word. Oh, sir, I will be there. I was about to turn around when James spoke. Wait, there's something I need to give you first. James gave me a piece of paper, and on it were rules. It was almost 10:30. I had to go to my job soon. I didn't even bother to read the rules. I looked at my watch as it said 10:25. I walked out of my house and into my car, the rules in my hand. I scoffed at how weird this was. Wouldn't the library be closed at this time? I looked at the list of rules and decided I would read them when I got to the library. Few minutes later, I saw the old library. It looked even worse at night. The cracked windows, the faded paint, and the brown grass surrounding the building. The library was always creepy. That's why I never went near it as a kid, but now I have a job in it. Opened the library doors and sat down at the front desk. Picked up the rules and looked at them, laughing as I read them. Rule 1. If a customer comes in, give them whatever they want. They will usually ask for a red ribbon. If they ask you that, then look in the bottom left drawer and give them it. And if they ask for a book, sign it out like you would do with any customer. Rule 2. Never look into a customer's eyes. If you do, they will try and take yours. If you look into their eyes, you must get some water and pour it onto them. This will make them scream and disappear. Looked up as I heard a door open. It was a customer. I did the mistake of looking into its eyes. The customer's eyes were a deep red. There were no pupils or irises, only red. It screamed and lunged over the counter. Give me your eyes. Its voice was hoarse, as if never speaking in years. I looked around and found a water bottle. I grabbed it and opened the lid. I threw the bottle at the creature's face and it hissed. The creature's body began to smoke. The smell was horrible. All that was left of the creature was the smell. I ran back to the desk and read some more of the rules. But this time I believed them. Rule 3. If you hear a scraping sound coming from the manager's door, open it and say, "Sir, please stop." The scraping sound will stop. It won't return until the next day. Rule 4. If you hear a barking from outside, hide in any room and lock the door. If you make a sound, it will get you. The creature is blind. and will leave the next morning. I sighed and looked at the books around me. I heard a door open and almost screamed. It was another customer. I looked at its feet and didn't look up. "Excuse me, sir, can you give me a red ribbon?" Its voice sounded like a human's, but its feet had claws. It stood onto legs. It must have been about 6 feet tall. Yes, of course. As my hand shook, I opened the bottom left drawer and got a red ribbon. Handed it to the thing, and it gave me some coins. "Thank you, sir." It walked out of the room, its tail following. I heard a scraping from inside of the manager's room and stood up. "I hate my job," I grumbled and opened the door. "Sir, please stop." The creature hissed and I heard footsteps retreat. That was when I heard a barking and the sound of glass breaking. I looked for the closest room and booked it. The thing must have heard me do it and ran towards me. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door behind me. I heard a growling followed by a bang. The creature was trying to get in. And this is where I must end my story. I knew I shouldn't have gotten this job. This job was a nightmare. My phone is about to die, and I didn't read all of the rules. I will do nothing until it is morning. The manager said he would be back at 6 o'clock. That is 3 hours away. My job will be rough. It's 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning, and the barking has stopped. I'm afraid to open the door. I should have got the rules list so I would know what to do. But now the boredom got a hold of me, and I might open the door. I'm afraid that if the wolf creature is still there, it would get me. I looked under the door to see nothing there. Unlocked the door and opened it. There was nothing. No wolf creature. Was safe for now. I looked at the clock above the bathroom door to see it turn to 4:01 a.m. I sighed. There's still 2 hours until my shift is done. And maybe if I survive there might be more. I looked at the front desk to see the list of rules. I sat down and read Rule 5. Rule 5. If you hear a noise in the vents, get a book and lighter and run out of the building to burn the book. The creature will see a fire and run. It hates fire. I looked at Rule 5 and wondered why it was scared of fire. I kept on reading. Rule 6. If there are multiple customers at once, kill them all. There should only be one customer at a time. The more customers there are, the more angry they become. I looked at the water bottle on my desk. It was almost empty. I looked around in search for a water fountain and filled my bottle up at once. I noticed a small glow coming off one of the books. I quickly looked at all of the rule again. Rule 6. If a book is glowing, put it outside. The more I looked at the book, the more it glowed. After a few minutes, I couldn't take it anymore. I threw the book outside and head back inside. Rule 8. If you see a tall creature with a hat and a human-like face, then that is Sam. Sam is a nice creature. He will help you out with the books. If you give him the glowing book should be outside, so you won't have a problem with Sam. I looked outside to see the glowing book. I looked at the clock to see that it was 4:37. Rule 9. If you feel a tap on your shoulder, do not turn around. Just don't. This is probably the most important rule. If you turn around, you will see nothing. If you turn back around, though, you will be greeted with the trickster. The trickster will then paralyze you until morning. And let's just hope you survive by then. I felt a tap on my shoulder and was about to turn around and realized it was the trickster. Looked in front of me, but it was hard. It was like the trickster was pulling me in. I looked at the rules again to see if there was anything to do. Rule 9. If you're visited by the trickster, then make sure you stand up and say, "Damn, I need a break." When you say this, walk to the restroom. The trickster should leave you alone for now. I looked at my feet and sighed. I stood up. Damn, my back's killing me. I need a break. I ran towards the restroom and closed the door. That was close. I sighed. This time I had the list of rules in my hand. Rule 10. If you hear laughter coming from outside, close your eyes until it stops. I looked at the clock. It was 6:35. A searing pain went through my hand as I looked down on it. Where fingernails used to be were claws, and where flesh was were blue scales. My eyes started to burn, and I held them. I had to get out of here. I grabbed the rules and went into my car. As I got inside my house, I read the rules again. Rule 11. Don't stay longer than your shift. You must always leave at 6 o'clock. If you don't, you will turn into one of the creatures like Sam. I drove as fast as I could to my house. My hand was on fire, and so were my eyes. Heard a scraping in my car and pulled the brake. I looked behind me, but there was nothing. I inhaled as I heard the scraping again. It was getting louder in sound. Turned around again, but saw nothing. Who's there? Show yourself. As I spoke, the scraping stopped, but it was followed by a loud, blood-curdling scream. Looked around to see a big wolf-like creature, but it wasn't even a wolf. Where a tail should be was a long canine-like jaw, and where paws should have been were bird-like talons. The face of the beast was like something you would have seen from The Thing. But this creature, it was real. I was frozen in fear. It came closer to me, until finally it was right next to my car. Its words were slow and cold. Its eyes were almost lifeless. Its breathing was raspy. You humans are so stupid. You destroy the things we love. You build stupid contraptions that are useless to us. You use dark magic to trap us in these buildings. You write us like you write a character. The Thing. We used to live in peace, but you humans became filthy with greed. You are what plagues this world. After The Thing stopped speaking, I gasped. What does it mean by trapped in buildings? I looked out my window again, but it was gone. All that was left was a single piece of paper. All that was written on it was, "You are different somehow. You listen, but you don't follow through with what you need to do. Human, if you want to live, then you need to help me. Destroy the library, and you will be fixed of any mistake you have caused. Please, human, help us. It's hard trying to sleep and seeing that your hand is scaly and blue. Decided not to sleep today, so everything sucked." Stood up, my body was sweaty and stiff, and slowly I walked to the bathroom. I needed to brush my teeth. Opened the wooden door and grabbed my toothbrush. I looked in the mirror and was horrified that one of my eyes was bright green. I looked at my other eye to see that it was still brown. Today will be interesting. Squirted some toothpaste on my toothbrush, its minty scent making my mouth water. Brushed my yellow-tinted teeth and spit out the toothpaste. I looked at my phone to see it was almost 10:30 p.m. I went into my living room and grabbed my car keys and a list of rules. Looked at the list and realized that something was off. There was no 7th rule. I looked over and over again, not seeing the 7th rule. The hell? What if I break it? Well, I'm so screwed. I grumbled under my breath. Was about to open my front door and realized that I needed gloves for my hands. I walked into my kitchen and opened a drawer. There was a pair of light gray gloves in it along with toothpicks. I ran towards my front door and opened it. I slammed my car door shut and sped to the library. I almost ran into my manager, James. "Wah, Jacob, what are you doing?" I looked at James and gasped for breath. "Sorry, I didn't want to be late." James looked at me confused, looked at his watch and croaked, "Well, Ock, get in there before customers come." Opened the door to the library and realized I needed to ask James about Rule 7. I ran back outside and looked around. Wait, James wasn't anywhere to be seen. Then I remembered that my car was the only car there. I looked around and saw nothing but shadows. Shrugged it off and went back into the library. I looked over the rules again and spotted that where Rule 7 should be was pen ink crossing it out. All I could make out were, Rule 7, don't trust the person named J. There is no man. That was all I could make out. I looked at the 7th rule again. What did it mean by man? Was there a man here before? Probably, but why cross it out? Is the man a dangerous creature? Gasped as I heard laughter. I looked over the rules again and remembered Rule 10. I closed my eyes immediately. Could hear kids laughing, but it didn't really sound like laughing. It was mixed with sobbing and screaming. Opened my eyes a little and immediately the laughing got louder. It felt like my head was going to explode. My eyes closed and my ears started to bleed. But finally, what felt like hours, the screaming stopped. I opened my eyes as little light blobs ran across my vision. I closed my eyes again and shook my head. I slowly opened my eyes to hear a door open and a scuffle across the floor. Hello, human boy. Could I speak to the manager? I gulped. There was no rules about this. Then an idea struck me. Sure, ma'am. Just follow me. I grabbed my water bottle as I heard an arrogant hiss. Quickly turned around and sprayed the hideous creature, its brown fur smoking, and its red eyes melting all over its face. It then screeched at me. No, you idiot, I am trying to help you. Have read your rules for years and Rule 7 is the most danger. It couldn't speak anymore as its throat got charred and cracked open. I huffed as I heard a scraping from the manager's room. I opened the door and spoke calmly. Sir, please don't do that. It scratched the door again and retreated. I sighed as I remembered what happened yesterday. I was about to scratch my ear as I remembered there was blood. I grumbled as I saw some cloth on the table, grabbed a piece of tape, and taped the cloth over my ears. I shouldn't have done that because the cloth muffled the sound. I barely heard the sound of the door opening, and a bark after that. As I heard what sounded like barking, I booked it for the bathroom again. As I closed the door behind me, I heard the ripping of flesh and a screech that sounded like a customer. I grumbled as I took off my temporary bandage. Now I heard everything clearly. The barking stopped as I heard paw steps retreat, or what I thought were paws. Looked at my phone to realize that it was almost 6:00 a.m. Unlocked the door and headed towards the exit of the library. And I almost ran into James again. Whoa, Jacob, be careful. I stifled a sigh as I remembered Rule 7. No, wait, James, what's Rule 7? James' face went white, and he stared at me. He took a breath to calm down. And nothing, Jacob. I made a mistake and crossed it out. I looked at him and wondered, then why didn't you change Rule 8 to be 7? James looked at me, his eyes narrowing. Like I said, Jacob, it's a mistake. Guys, I need help. I don't know why James is being suspicious. What should I do? I don't know who to trust. If just remembered yesterday. Is the wolf from yesterday. The wolf from Rule 4. Guys, I really need your help. I feel like I'm going insane. And what does the wolf mean by trapped? It was walking right next to the door. And what is Rule 7? James is acting weird. Then again, I don't know who James is. Did James trap those things in the library? I was sitting outside of the library looking at it, wondering what to do. I had a couple of matches in my pocket just in case. I looked around as I heard a rustle in the bushes. Low growling came from it. I grabbed the knife in my pocket and stepped out of my truck. Who's there? My voice was hard and cold. I looked into the bush and noticed lifeless eyes staring down at me. Hello, human. You know what you must do. It was the wolf again. The creature from before. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Retorted, knowing what it wanted. You're lying to yourself, human. You always do. even when the answer is right in front of you. The creature croaked. Wait, what do you mean I lie to myself all the time? My voice cracked as I finished. Humans always lie, even the person who trapped us here lied to you. The creature sounded sad. I looked at it confused. Wait, who imprisoned you? I looked at the creature as something began to laugh. The laughing became screaming. Close your eyes. I screamed and hoped the creature heard me. I heard a snap as the laughing came to a halt. I opened my eyes to see the creature standing over a mangled corpse of what looked like a customer. What is that thing? The creature looked up at me and scoffed. They're from a different dimension, but trapped here. And in your world it's called Rule 10. The creature finished. You sound like you hate the rules. Why's that? The creature looked at me. Its lifeless eyes narrowed in anger. You really don't know why I hate the rules. Its ears laid flat on its head. I hate the rules because they bound us to that place. They turn us into lifeless husks, rewriting our every move. The creature looked down at me and sighed. And I'm afraid that you're our only hope of escaping. I was about to speak when the creature began to quiver. Its eyes started to roll back into its head. It snapped its gaze to me and whimpered. Quick, human, if you want to live, go hide somewheres, before it overtakes me. I did as the creature said, and ran to hide inside a bush. I looked closely at the creature, and as I was watching, a loud bark came from it, followed by many more. This creature was Rule 4. If this creature was the thing from Rule 4, that means there are others like it. Why was the creature acting like this? Wasn't it in control earlier? Then it all hit me. The rules are what forced the creatures to stay here. The rules controlled the creatures, but why would anybody want to control them? Turned around as I heard a twig snap. The wolf was trying to find me. It was sniffing me out. Grabbed a rock and threw it in a different direction. The rock made a loud bang as it hit my car. The creature snapped its neck in the direction of my car and began to claw at it furiously. Then I heard it. The library door opening and closing. It was a customer. I looked at the wolf as it charged for the door. The door splintered into pieces as the wolf came charging in. It grabbed the customer and pulled it outside. It screamed as the wolf began to bite. The customer wailed as the wolf went. The wolf ripped as he went limp. Turned away as the scent of copper came flooding into my nose. A familiar voice came ringing in my ears. Human, are you there? I turned around and looked at the wolf. The wolf looked around as it spoke. Human, it's Oak. After I killed the creature, I changed back. I sighed as I walked out of the bush. I looked at the sky to see that it was becoming dawn. So what happened? The wolf seemed to grow larger as it looked down on me. Like I keep saying, humans, the person who trapped us here bound us to the building and is controlling us with the rules. I looked up at the wolf. I was an idiot. Completely ignored the facts. I heard footsteps approaching. The wolf sniffed the air and ran into the woods. I noticed a dark figure standing outside of the woods, and as the sun began to rise, I saw that it was James. I was confused at what James was looking at. Turned around and saw that he was looking at where the wolf went. I waited until James was inside the building. I slowly walked out of the woods, careful not to make a sound. I didn't want James to see me coming from the woods because he was acting weird. I opened the door to my now very broken truck. I found my key and started my engine. James looked through the window and looked at my truck. He watched me as I left the library. I was going down my street as I heard a whisper. Turned my head and saw lifeless eyes. Human, you must burn down the library before he has his grasp over this planet too. I stepped on my brakes and fully turned around. What do you mean, wolf? The wolf narrowed its eyes and growled. Foolish human, why does it have to be you? Why do you have to be the one to save us? I looked at the wolf, wondering why it couldn't burn the library. Wolf, Why can't you just do it? It looked at me. Well, human, since I'm bound to the library, I can't destroy it. And since you're not, you can. Looked up at the wolf's lifeless eyes. And why should I trust you, wolf? How do I know the library is protecting us? The wolf lashed its tail and barked. Because, human, in a few days the witch will get more and more power until he has enough to control this planet. And if you don't want to get controlled, I think you might want to burn it down. I sighed, closed my eyes, and took a few deep breaths. I opened my eyes again to see that the wolf disappeared. I felt a searing pain in my hand and found that the scales on my hand were spreading. I yelled in pain as my eyes and legs were hurting as well. Everything began to hurt. The wolf was right. Whoever made the library was getting more powerful. I needed to stop them before they could control me. Drove to the library as fast as I could. Opened my door and slammed it shut. I saw a light flicker inside and saw James. I went into my pocket and grabbed my matches. The fire in my hands was bright. I threw the match at the wooden door and it began to burn. I went into the forest to grab some dead leaves, anything that was dry, and burn it. Was about to put a dead log into the burning building. But I couldn't move, my body trembled and stopped. I heard a familiar voice in my ears. Foolish boy, should have listened to the wolf. Soon I will have enough power to control everything. You shouldn't have listened to me. You shouldn't have got this job. You shouldn't have listened to Rule 7. Rule 7. Don't trust the person named James. There is no manager,